So with the release of Iron Cross and the Iron Cross's command cards, German players have been given the opportunity to use two vehicles they normally wouldn't be able to field, and that being the T-34 and the KV1. Here's the KV1 right here. Now if you bought the Stalingrad box set, you actually get both those tanks and a Valentine as well. And that's the chief reason I bought the Stalingrad box set. Gave me a KV1, gave me a T-34, an extra Panzer III, and an extra Panzer IV that I can do whatever I want with later on down the road. Probably going to smash them up with a hammer and make them objectives, if I'm going to be honest. But when I busted open that deck of cards, and I saw these two cards, my brain just lit up like a Christmas tree. Especially when I saw the Looted KV1 card. You mean to tell me that I can get a heavy tank for only 10 points? What? Hell, a Tiger costs almost triple that by itself. So this really seems like a bargain. Well, before all you German players decide to set fire to your Tigers, let's run through both cards to see if there's enough value to take the KV over the Tiger. So, first up, let's compare stats. Motivation is the same between the two at 4+, but the Tiger has a better last stand and remount roll at a 2 and a 3 respectively, compared to the 3-ups on the KV. The base skill of the Tiger is a 3 at a veteran, a 3-up, whereas the KV is a 5-up on its skill level, which makes it green, unless it's doing an assault, which is a 4-up. The other number to keep in mind is the hit-on number. The KV is Reckless 2+, so it's going to get hit on 2s, and then the Tiger is hit on 4s. So definitely a distance if you're playing just the base Russian version. This is, yeah, it's definitely less appealing. You can definitely tell. However, let's look at the armor. The armor on the front of both the KV and the Tiger is 9. Side and rear armor is 8, and the top armor is 2. So in terms of armor, they're exactly the same. They're both heavy tanks, right? They're both juggernauts, especially in mid-war. They're tough to kill with their high armor. And look at the movement. The KV is slightly slower than the Tiger. Tactical move is 2 inches slower. So is terrain dash. The cross country's 4 inches shorter, or slower rather, and same with the road dash. However, the cross checks, they're both a 3. And here's where we get the major difference. At least for me, it's the major difference. And that's going to be the gun. The KV's got a 76mm gun that's got a 24-inch range, rate of fire 2, rate of fire 1 while moving, anti-tank 9, firepower 3-up, and it's got overworked. The Tiger has its 88mm, or 8.8 centimeter gun, and it's got the 40-inch range, rate of fire 2 while halted, 1 while moving, anti-tank 14, and a firepower 3-up. So almost immediately, you know the 88 is going to be a lot more powerful and has a lot more reach. I mean, it can really go long distance and say F you with that anti-tank 14. And then obviously the machine guns are exactly the same. 16 inches, 4.4, 2, and 6. I mean, there's no difference there. Now with the gun being overworked on the KV, it does take a penalty to when it shoots. It's got a +1 with the when it's moving to shoot. So it makes it harder to even fire it while on the move. So this is kind of like a stationary pillbox type unit, at least how I see it. I don't play Russians, and I really haven't seen a lot of battle reports out there, and I don't have a lot of first-hand experience playing Russians just yet. I'm still relatively new to Flames of War, but I can definitely see how, where if you take these en masse Again, it's the whole quantity is a quality all of its own, and that makes sense. Another couple things to consider between these two is that the Looted KV doesn't get Stormtrooper unit rules. It's not an escort tank either. It can't take objectives, and it can't charge into combat. So that's a big difference. And what I mean by it can't charge into combat, I spoke a little bit out of turn here. When you take the Looted KV card, it actually specifically says it makes that Looted KV1 an independent tank team where the motivation gets jumped up to a 4, the skill level gets jumped up to a 4, and it's hit on a 3. So it does improve a lot of what I would call concerns in looking at the stock Russian version. You're getting the more experienced Germans in there, the more seasoned ones. But because it's independent, can't charge into combat, and it can't take an objective. And it's also ignored for victory points too. So it comes down to what's the big benefit of taking a Looted KV over a Tiger. Well, to be honest, it's points economy. If you're playing games at values of 100 points or below, the Tiger becomes an expensive gamble. Sure, it's a beast of a machine, but it can fail dice rolls just like any other unit. And while the front armor of 9 is beefy, there's always a chance your opponent brings one big gun to deal with your big kitty. By going with the Looted KV, it saves me 19 points difference and allows me to invest into other choices while still having a big gun on the table. Hell, maybe you're already taking a unit 2 Tigers and you wish you could go for a third. This kind of gets you a pseudo Tiger for cheap. Now, if you're doing that, then the rest of your force has got to be infantry, right? That's an expensive option. But between both tanks, you're only really losing the 88's fantastic ability to send anti-tank 14 hatred across the board. So hopefully, this gives you something to think about when you're building your list for mid-war. I think it's cool. I like the idea of taking Russian armor mixed in with my Germans. I kind of like that. But what do you think? Do you think the KV's a good choice taking in mid-war, as an independent tank team? Or would you stick with the Venerable Tiger if you're going to choose anything? Let me know in the comments below. You guys have a good one. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to help the channel grow, just share the video with a friend or a Facebook group or something like that. Hit the like button or subscribe. Smaller channels like mine thrive on word of mouth. So letting a friend know, it's a big help. Thanks.